Hey guys, welcome back to Foreign Reacts, man. Today we're going to be checking out how can you tell someone is an American without them telling you. I messed up that title, so yeah, we're going to get right into that video. So if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. We do a lot of these videos here about America, and obviously I do a lot of videos regarding to other countries around the world. So yeah. Sit back and join us here at Foreign Reacts, man. Almost 10,000 subscribers. We want you guys to be a part of it. So let's get right into this video, guys.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
So I'm American, but I studied abroad in London during college, and we had like some orientation to like tell us about, what it was like studying abroad. And they said, you have to do things because people will notice that you're American. There are things that Americans do that they don't do in England, like smile at strangers on the sidewalk. And I thought,
if I'm correct, I think it's practically not possible to hide it. I don't think it's possible because when you're like trying to avoid a specific thing, like if I go to a different country, I'm gonna see someone, look them dead in the eye, give them a smile, a nod of my head, and I go about my business. I've never really been to other countries before, but yeah, but that's an American thing. You see somebody, you're like, hey, how are you? You keep walking. That's an American thing. When you go to other countries, you got to get used to that thing, So yeah.
What kind of psychopath smiles at a stranger on the sidewalk? Like, why are you even telling me this? Is super weird. Fast forward, I get to London. I'm excited. I go for a walk around my neighborhood, and people keep looking at me weird. I'm like, God, these guys are kind of assholes. And then I realize I'm the psychopath smiling at strangers on the sidewalk.
Well, Americans, or at least the most of them, they can't drive a manual. And it's not just that, but when they find out that anyone in the world can drive one, they look at you like you're totally insane. Now,
nah, you've been around the wrong folks. You've been around the wrong folks. Nah, come to the South, you're gonna see that. Go to LA where you got the car guys and car girls, you're gonna see that. I don't know, you're probably in some Washington or one of them little refined state. Let me not act as if them states not worthy. But I mean, when you go to a South Carolina, a Texas, bro, yeah, that's real state.
At least in most countries in Europe, you don't get a driver license if you can drive a manual. That's that's basic true. Stuff for us.
So I'm actually American, but I lived overseas for like 10 plus years.
15 years.
I've lived in Africa and Europe, and I've been pretty much everywhere. So let me tell you how I can tell if you're an American tourist or not. One of the biggest definers is how you dress. Any man I see that's wearing cargo shorts, I immediately know is American. Also, footwear tends to be a pretty big identifier. American sneakers are pretty ugly, and lots of people don't really wear sandals overseas. Also, depending on where you are, your height can be a huge identifier. I lived in the Netherlands for 4 years, and the Dutch are a very tall people. So anyone that was 6 foot or shorter, I could kind of tell. Also, the very obvious one is Americans tend to be louder than other people. Pretty much make it known whether you want to or not, because Americans have such loud voices. Also, at least in Europe, Americans tend to dress more for comfort than style. Almost 100% of my fashion sense nowadays is because I lived in Europe. Europeans dress up just to go to the grocery store.
Extremely white and functional trainers or sneakers and baseball caps.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you?
That's BS, man. That like 90% of dudes in America don't even dress like that. That's pops, man. That's how dads dress in America. That ain't all the dudes, man. Once you hit 45 and you're going up south, up north, I mean, that's how you dress. Not every guy dressed like that.
They're American.
I was serving a table of Americans once, and they were driving down from Dublin on a motorway, and they asked us why there was a castle in the middle of the motorway and why we didn't just knock it down to put the motorway through it. The thousands-year-old castle, sure.
I can answer this question. I live in Paris currently, and I noticed that us Americans are very loud and excitable. So if you're like in the public touristy areas, and especially on the metro, and see a very loud group of people, 9 times out of 10, they're Americans.
That one is true.
My current theory on why that is because Americans have a bigger personal space bubble than Europeans, so we have to yell to get the point across.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if this is exclusively Americans, but we wear a lot of graphic tees with branding on it. And we always get hot and take our coats off. And for some reason, the French never get hot. It could be 75 degrees and they will wear coats and scarves. And I don't know what witchcraft that is. It must be blood magic because, like, they're fine. They're not breaking a sweat. And those, like, mark us as great targets for grifters and scam artists.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
Usually it's the clothing. It's either you can see them wearing brands that are not readily available here in Germany or in Europe, or it's a certain style, like an athleisure wear that's just not very common here. Like even to go to the supermarket, people will still throw on a pair of jeans and a sweater, even if it's their messiest look. They'll still kind of look kind of put together, whereas you'll see someone literally shopping in their slippers. And you know that person's an American. People here tend to, kind of dress up even to go shopping. Also, volume.
Oh,
and I myself can be heard from at least 200 feet away when I speak.
Oh.
Yeah.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
So a little story time. So I used to be a waiter at a 4-star hotel near Formula 1 circuit, and like every so often, because of the circuit, we had loads of people come in from different countries, so Japan, America, Canada, all that sort of stuff. Had some Americans come in and sit on my table. Their food was included, but their drinks were not, so they were paying for their drinks. I could tell they were American/Canadian. I couldn't tell by the full accent, but I could tell they were American as soon as they tipped, because they tipped a considerable amount compared to their actual bill price, and it was quite a bit of a shock on the actual tipping culture in America.
Question for you.
I don't know why Europeans don't take that tip. I'm like, give me that. Thank you. Put it in my pocket and I'm out.
Can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
Is Hitler still your president?
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
If I ask them where they're from and they start to reply with percentages, they're American. If I tell them I'm Italian and they say they're Italian too because their great-grandpa was an immigrant, they're American. If they say stuff along the lines, oh, I have pizza every Saturday night, so we are the same, they're American. If they start to speak in like a mafia boss accent, like the ones from the movies, they're American. If they say, I went to Europe once, they're American. Because they're the only ones who don't know Europe is not just one country. If they don't understand the time on my phone, they're American.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get used to the time. Bro, do you understand that 24-hour... Bro, there are so many things that I'm gonna have to get acquainted with because the measurements... I don't know nothing about none of that measurement type stuff, bro. And, bro, I might have a long-ass journey. Woo!
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
Oh my god, here we go. Obnoxiously loud in public transportation. Will talk slowly to you even though you speak perfect English. Always wearing their collared sweatshirts and a baseball cap.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
Now that is indeed a good question because as a European and a Dane, we kind of figure it out quite easily. Here are some of the following statements or comments that I've got or heard. Hej, hvad kan jeg gøre for dig I dag? I'm sorry, I don't speak German. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were a tourist. What can I get for you today? Oh my god, like your accent, Oh my god, your accent. I cannot believe that you guys in Denmark are so nice because I thought you were all communists, like the Russians. Excuse me, hey? Yeah, what can I get for you? Would you please translate that on the board because I don't understand that? Sure thing, it says cappuccino, but that is not a Danish coffee like, I want a Danish coffee. You mean filterkaffe? Yeah, that one, that is the Danish coffee, right?
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
I'll just tell a story to answer this question. I used to work at a national...
Yeah, that one. That is the
Since this is Canada, whenever you'd interact with a visitor, you'd say hello, bonjour. giving them the choice to speak English or French. Anyway, this guy comes in, and he's got a cowboy hat on, a buttoned-up shirt that's tucked into his jeans, he has leather boots, and to top it all off, his belt has American dollar bills printed on it. So me and my coworkers did our thing. We said, oh, hello, bonjour. And instead of just saying hi and continuing on with things, he stopped in his tracks, looked at us, and said, "We don't speak that funny language." Didn't clarify which language he was talking about. I think it was French. So yeah, that's how I could tell he was American.
You tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American.
One of the things I learned when I did my study abroad in Ireland is that the way you can tell American is American without having to hear them speak or anything is right here. Tennis shoes. Typically, white tennis shoes. I don't own any white tennis shoes, but only Americans will wear tennis shoes nonstop. Most people in Europe wear like Doc Martens or like a dress shoe that's still really comfortable. But tennis shoes, when they're not at the actual gym, nope. You stand out as an American.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
They ask you some stupid questions, like, why is everything closed on Sunday in Germany? Or why do you call soccer football? Or even, why is your coffee so yellow and sparkling?
Really?
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
Everything. Absolutely everything. Like, their face. Do you know what I mean? How are you? Shut up!
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
It's actually kind of weird because we can spot you from the distance, and I'm not joking. Like, you have this aura, this glow, you glow American. American tourists are usually very loud, very excited, and in a party mode, and very outgoing. I'm from Germany, so most of the time American tourists are very drunk because you always want to try the German beer, which is great. These are all great things, but German people are usually, I'm not, but German people are usually very down to earth, like low-key, in their own little bubble, don't want to talk to strangers mode, and you're like, I want to be in your bubble, let me in your bubble, which is great, but it can be annoying. But I like American tourists, like especially on pub crawls, drinking beers with them. It's very awesome meeting them, talking to them. Americans are at the Oktoberfest, who are not.
What is the weirdest perverse interest an ex of yours has had?
I don't know. Don't ask me that weird ass question, boy. Anyways, guys, I'm out of here, man. Pretty interesting video. Hope y'all enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was a pretty decent video. But either way, guys, I'm out of here. Peace.